Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in or joining us in this very interesting discussion on environmental justice. Full introduction, I'm Maxwell Ayamba. So this image here, obviously, those who live in Sheffield or probably who visited the Pigdish National Park, will see that this is part of the Pigdish National Park. And I chose this image because of the nature of the English countryside, a space where national parks are located. The picture is to illustrate the fact that Britain's 15 national parks are not the English countryside per se, but maybe within this rural space. So people think national parks are part of the rural countryside. They are, because they are located within this space. And my explanation for this is despite the location of national parks within rural countryside spaces, unlike national parks in America and in Australia, national parks in the UK are living, working landscapes, largely areas of managed countryside, and therefore very contested landscapes historically, since the enclosure of the commons in 1773, which led to land enclosures and largely having land being owned by these wealthy landowners. Furthermore, unlike many of the 113,000 national parks elsewhere in the world, the UK national parks are neither owned by the nation nor are they environmentally intact. They have all been dramatically affected by centuries of human habitation. So nonetheless, UK national parks attract more than 100 million visitors a year, providing a haven for nature where people from all over the UK and beyond connect with the incredible natural beauty, tranquility, and recreational opportunities in them for health and well-being. And so that's why I chose this picture, just to show how contested this space is. As you can see the farmhouse there, you can see the sheep, but you also have walking trails there. You can see the hills and the mountains which led to the mass trespass access in 1932. So that's why I chose this picture. It's quite a contested landscape.
Thank you so much for that, Maxwell. And Kate, do you want to share your screen as well?
Yes, I'll just have another go at that. Okay, can you see that one?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm joining you from Anawan country on the so-called New England tablelands of northeastern New South Wales in Australia. It's currently 7:10 at night, which is probably a lot later than wherever you're coming in from. I'd like to start by acknowledging the sovereign lands of the Anawan people and pay respect to their elders, past and present. And I'd also like to acknowledge the many other Aboriginal peoples who live on these lands and who have generously guided me in my research and in my life. So this is an image, it's a photograph of Iwata, which is a living sculpture of an echidna that we designed and created in the Armidale Aboriginal Community Garden, which was my last major research project. Iwata is the Anawan name for echidna, and the echidna is one of the Anawan totems. And the reason I've chosen Iwata is because she changed my relationship with the community garden and with the research, and continues to be a generative force in my thinking and indeed my feeling about environmental justice and relationships within multi-species communities. So the Armidale Aboriginal Community Garden, you can see the raised beds of it in the background. This photo was taken many, many years ago, so about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's now full of native trees and much more developed in that sense, but it's situated on land that was once part of the East Armidale Aboriginal Reserve, which in the mid-20th century was home to over 100 dispossessed Aboriginal peoples who were forced to live on the town rubbish dump. So it's a site that carries troubling histories of social and environmental violence. Uncle Steve Witters, an Anawan elder, first suggested the idea of a community garden at the site to me in 2011, and then we came together in 2014 to create it together with a committee of Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people. And the garden functions as a place of anti-colonial resistance and a field site for collaborative multi-species environmental humanities research. And it's now managed by One Connection Disability Services, which is an Aboriginal organisation who continue to run programs through the site, including most recently a program to prevent domestic violence. So it's got a really strong social grounding in the community. So Awada interests me because she was the result of a community arts project in which a local sculptor worked with Aboriginal high school and primary school kids, so kids from about 6 to about 17, to create it. And the spikes of her body, or the spines rather, are made of lamandra grasses, which were traditionally used in weaving. And her body is composed of soil. And then she has this metal head with the long and pointy echidna's nose. And as soon as Iwata was created or planted or birthed, I wasn't sure what word to use, the garden felt different. And that to me was significant. She brought a feeling of warmth. And I can't go into the garden now without saying, hello, Iwata. So I've thought about that a lot. And, you know, it's an example of a kind of participatory research that Michael was just talking about earlier, participatory action research with the non-human world, where she's actually been created. And I think that she makes quite eloquent material arguments. So Iwata is part of Anawan people's rich kinship relations, where the more than human world is understood as part of a broad familiar-like network of responsibilities, and where what white fellas tend to call the environment is actually understood as a society with law. Iwata ties Aboriginal sovereignty into the living country, or rather draws attention to the Aboriginal sovereignty that is manifest already in the country. She also subjectifies grasses, soils, and echidnas, because she's alive, but she's not singular. And she transforms that multiplicity into a kind of personhood, which I think actively resists an extractivist construction of non-human life. So she feels intimate and personal and simple, but is actually incredibly complex and makes particularly eloquent arguments that speak to some of the themes that I think we'll touch on today.